Hello, and welcome to a stabilizing edition of the Drywall Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Harmon. With me today, Shane Larson, inventor of the Platformer. The Platformer is a unique tool that fastens to the wall, holding your scaffold in place.
And it's expensive to go out and actually show people. I really appreciate this podcast for that reason. I'm actually going to be able to show people on a different platform where I can't travel from state to state. It's just not cost effective.
Shane is a fantastic guy, and we find a lot of common ground discussing marketing and distribution. Shane has a fantastic following on Facebook. He is in 60 plus locations with the Platformer, and we also talk a lot about safety. The Drywall Podcast is brought to you by Fresco Harmony. Fresco Harmony, making walls better since 2004. If you'd like more information about Fresco Harmony or any of the topics discussed during this podcast, you can reach out to me directly at info@frescoharmony.com. Without further ado, Shane Larson, the 16th podcast on the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it.
Good morning.
Shane Larson.
How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Inventor of the Platformer.
Yeah.
Third generation drywall finisher.
Yeah.
And where are you out of?
I'm just south of Okotoks, or south of Calgary, in a little town called Okotoks.
I don't know how can't avoid interviewing Canadians. You're the third one.
Right on.
It's okay. It's okay. You guys seem pretty cool up there.
Yeah. No, we stay pretty cool up here for sure.
Figuratively and literally.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Let me dive right in here. Have you done a podcast yet?
No, I haven't. No,
and
not at all.
The other question I always ask is, have you listened to the Drywall Podcast?
Absolutely. I do.
Yeah, you have?
My friend.
Nice. Which one did you listen to?
Quite a few, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, obviously the first one there with Papa Duggins. And, and all the way down the line. I find it quite interesting because a lot of these characters I've spoken to through my, my Facebook groups and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see a face, right?
It is. And also there's something more to seeing the person and getting a little bit of their backstory. And as a drywaller, it's interesting to me, like, how'd you get into the trade,
Yeah.
What, and then also to come up with something cool, like that. There's a story there.
Oh, yeah, definitely a story there.
And it's a lot harder for me to be like, dude, your product sucks when I'm when I'm talking to somebody that has a family.
Yeah.
And that like put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, like myself, into a product, that we're trying to push. And we're just trying to further the industry and make it better for everybody.
Absolutely. We have a lot in common that way.
Yeah. I want to read something here. It's pretty cool that so the Platformer can be found on platformersolutions.com.
Yes, sir.
And it retails for about $399. And I'll explain it the way I explain it, and then I'll read what you have on your website. So to me, it solves the problem of I'm putting scaffolding up in a stairwell or a difficult to reach area. And it's a secure tool to hold my, I use a telescoping plank, so it works great for that. Hold it in place so that I'm a little safer. And also if there's nothing else to brace to. Right.
First off, it's $305 US. Because I'm Canadian, a lot of people get mistaken. And it does make the difference. I'm in the trades myself, so I get it.
Yeah.
That $100 does make a difference.
Yeah.
But well, let me just back up and start out by saying this was invented to solve a problem in which I was handling all the time as well. Like anyone in our industry knows that half the time we walk into a job site, the first thing we're doing is we're walking over to the difficult area and going, oh, geez, how am I going to set that up? Yep. Right. And I did it for 20 years the same way. And I went, okay, I'll put a scaffold there and I'll run a ladder there and I'll run a plank there. And I started doing bigger and bigger houses, and they just started getting more complex. Yeah. And, you know, they'd start rounding them off and throw a skylight above it. Yep. And, you know, the architects aren't even thinking about the guys that got to work up there.
Yep.
So I ran into one job where it's really hard to imagine how hard this was. It was like an octagon shaped stairwell, okay, that had a little bit of a jaunt out from the wall, okay, with windows in between each one and a spiral staircase to a cone ceiling.
Beautiful.
Okay, so it had two scaffolds from the basement set up, but one of the legs on the scaffold was on a 2x4.
Yeah.
That was bent like this, and a big old red flag that the safety officer had put on there. And they said, get up there and do it. And I would have had to do a ladder for each one of those inner offsets all the way up 2 stories. And there was zero money to be made, along with the fact that life on the line. And
well, that's a good point from a sales standpoint. That's where the platformer pays for itself in one use.
Well, exactly. You know, so I had to turn down my first job. I'd never turned down a job. I just tackle it and find it like challenge, and I'd be like, yeah, I'll make this happen. But I had to turn this one down, and it really racked my brain, man. I went, there's got to be an easier way to do this. And you know, 6 years later, and all the development and engineering that's gone into it, we've come up with this product that I use not just because I'm biased, but I use it because it just solves so many problems in so many ways.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it until you actually get up there and start using it.
Yeah.
You know, it's another part of the equation is the way I like to look at it.
And you, were you using like 2x4 screwed to the wall? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And everyone knows that feeling, right? Like you go out there and you're going, you reef on it, you pull on it, you put like 20 screws into it or nails or whatever, and you reef on this thing and you think you're doing good.
Yeah.
But then when you walk out there, you never feel safe.
No. What real quick, let me read this. 70 deaths per year and 5,000 injuries per year directly related to scaffold setups, and 72% planks giving away. So where did you get those numbers?
Okay, so I work really closely with the safety community. Obviously, it's one of the biggest parts of platformer. You know, you walk into a job site and the safety officer is going to say, "What the heck is that?"
Well, union. In my experience, union. Right. I mean, if you're piece rate or whatever, they just want it done. But in the union,
right,
they're checking and looking, and you have to have your stuff in order.
Right. So there's lots of different stats, and they fluctuate. But the number one that everyone needs to know is that the number one cause of death on the job site, by far, by 2/3, is falling from heights.
Okay.
And a lot of that is contributed to falling in stairwells. Exactly the same setups that we do every day, and it's people turning a blind eye to that. That's caused me to get more involved in the safety community and try to almost mandate something safer, because everyone you talk to, they go, oh my God, like at first, if they don't know about the platformer, they'll go, okay, what's that? And they'll be like kicking the tires on it. But as soon as you introduce it and you show it to them and they find out it's an engineered product, they change everything, because they would have to walk on the job site and go, what do you do? Like, what am I going to make a guy do? And we've all been there when they walk in and you go, well, how else am I supposed to set up this stairwell? Mm-hmm. And now with the platformer, you actually have an engineered product that they can endorse, right? Where before there was nothing.
Okay. And endorse like this Chris Bauer fella.
Exactly. And you know what? I've traveled, like I started in Canada, traveled from BC across, I don't know if you're familiar with Canada, but all the way over to the east and visited with every different province, and their safety regulations are different. But one thing is the same, is it has to be an engineered product.
So when you travel across Canada, where are you going?
Man, all over the place. Trade shows, safety meetings. I met with the Minister of Labor. You name it. Like I'm very proactive.
Yeah.
I believe that this product is something that needs to be on the job site to, if I even save one life,
is that a shift though, sort of in consciousness around your product, to where when it first started out, it was I need to make this because it sort of solves a problem, to, wow, this can really impact the construction industry in a positive way by saving. I mean, these numbers seem a little high to me, that they were all based on like falls. I mean, you get accidents in other ways on the job site, but that seems pretty high. 70.
That's what I said, man.
70 deaths a year falling off a scaffold. That's pretty extreme.
And it's actually more than that now. It's getting worse.
Sure.
Okay? Once again, they're changing things to be more elaborate. Like everything you look at, they got the new design for the stairwell, and things are getting harder. And once again, that fall statistic also goes off of other types of falls. It could even mean falling off a sawhorse and hitting your head. So that stat is really high because it's just such a wide spectrum.
I remember being in the union. I think it was 4 feet. You had to have handrails. Is that still?
It is, man. Like
I've got a 4 foot like bench, that I like just run around on that thing, all day long. It's like, and if you get tippy, it's like I just jump off,
Right. And there's so many different situations that you could try and make safer, but it's really up to the guy running the show. Right.
What's your take on the dudes that are walking the stilts and they're going out on the there's two stilt scenarios that always amuse me. One is when the guys walk on the stilts out onto the scaffold. That one makes me a little nervous, although maybe I've done it. Not recently.
I might be a liar if I said I didn't get out there myself.
Yeah. And then the other one is when they jack them way up, when they tie the stilts together and they're like 50 feet in the air on a vaulted ceiling. What's your thoughts on that? Well, bad idea?
We've all been forced to do things we didn't feel safe doing.
Right.
And that's one of those scenarios. And that's the first thing that comes to mind is that guy is a worker on someone's job site that his boss said, I need you to do this or else you're not getting paid. And those scenarios, that culture is what drives me nuts. When guys are advertising it on the Facebook, it blows my mind that the guy taking the picture is probably the boss. He's like, oh, look at this guy.
Yeah, but it's also like, if I'm working piece rate, like that boss doesn't care. I'm doing it because I'm getting the job done quicker and I'm making more money. Yeah. I think those are more the scenarios where these dudes are getting thrown into houses and they're just like, let's get it done. Strap those stilts together. And the boss is kind of like, I don't want to see it. If you guys get hurt, that's on you, so the boss gets to wash his hands a little bit. And again, it goes back to the price of, what drywallers make, square footage wise versus, how fast they have to work to achieve the work. And then, because I read the responses to the platform and it's like, oh, I don't have time to set that up.
Right. So in response to that, that question's quite common. Because a lot of these responses are people that have never tried the product. And a lot of them are harmless and really nice comments. Yeah. But a lot of them are people that they just don't know. And I would love to be able to just teleport to them, put it in their hands and say, go set that up, and then go set up a scaffold, a ladder, and a plank. And tell me which one's better. Because I've done it hundreds of times, and I'll tell you, it's quick, it's easy, and you have no obstructions. Whereas a scaffold, like in some of my videos, I've got all this beadwork that's running through the bottom where my scaffold is. So I'm trying to hawk and trowel through the scaffold trying to carry my buckets up the stairs through a ladder and plank.
No, that's a good point. Oh yeah, I've been there because we cover the whole wall. So you've got to get all aspects, whereas that scaffold wouldn't be in the way. That's a good point.
Yeah, and once you learn that, like the people that are saying that will go, oh, I get it. It might seem quicker in the initial setup, right? Or slower, but in the whole scheme of things, you leave it set up. You don't have to take that ladder and plank down and lock it up over in another room. You leave everything set up and you can walk up and down it. And you can run your boxes. You start seeing the time savings in setting it up this way. So it's really hard to change the culture because a lot of guys are stubborn in this trade, man. You know that. They you know, like some of these guys have been doing it so long. It's like when they brought seatbelts in, they were like, I've been driving my whole life, never gotten in a car accident.
Yeah,
and it's point. Like, well, does that not mean you're not going to hit a pole tomorrow?
Yeah.
You know, accidents happen.
Yeah, I was a seatbelt resistor too. Let's back up a little bit. Shane Larson. So your grandfather was a drywaller. Did he like run his own business? Did he work for somebody?
No, he ran his own business for a while. He had 2 sons, and my dad and my uncle started with him as well.
Nice.
So my old man Ray taught me everything and got me involved in the trade. I hated it when I was a kid. Like everyone does. I don't want to go to work, Dad. You know, screw this. But
I like Chad Hescher's story. Chad's like, yeah, I went to work for 5 days for a friend of mine doing drywall, and he's like, well, I'll never do that again. You know, and here he is, like 10 years later, running a company. It's pretty funny. Yeah,
that's funny you say that because that's usually what you think when you work for your dad. You're like, I'll never do this when I'm older.
Yeah.
But I started seeing the positive in it, and I got good at it. People started, you know, wanting me around, and I started being sought after. And next thing you know, I'm doing, you know, big $1 million homes and running a big crew. And did you take your company from your dad? Did you run your own company? You worked for your dad for a little while? No, he taped until a couple of years ago. He had an accident and actually fell off some scaffold and hurt himself pretty bad.
Okay.
Broke his whole shoulder up, and he's still dealing with it now. But, you know, he was running his own thing just the same as I was, and my brother as well is doing the same thing.
Okay.
We just kind of split up and went our own ways. There was enough work for us all to do that. So and then he fell, and unfortunately he's not going to be able to work again.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer. And this is, you know, I hate to say it, but this is what eventually happens to people that are, you know, when you just, things aren't safe in some areas. There's just these gray areas, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, Dad's was an accident, and one that clearly can happen to any of us. But I'm getting videos and direct messages, and people are saying stories to me that are just unbelievable, you know, reaching one last inch in a high area.
You grab a bucket and you're like 50 feet up, and you stand on a bucket, and you're instantly like, that little voice inside your head is like, you should not be doing this right now.
So yeah, that old school way I've been taught too. Like my dad learned the old school way. And so, you know, the things that we see, it's nothing compared to what they dealt with. And that's why a lot of the old timers are really resistant to change, because they grew up seeing the worst of it. And some of the comments I get are because they're like, you know, that's nothing. I've done this and I've done that. So, yeah.
Cool. So Shane Larson is you branched out on your own, and you had a drywall company. What was the name of that company?
Drywall Interiors.
Drywall Interiors, and that's out of where?
Calgary,
Canada. Cool. Yeah. Just sounds neat.
It's the lead Viking ship on a Viking. You know how at the very front they've got the one with the dragon on the front.
Yeah.
That's what a Dracar is.
A Dracar. Okay. Yeah. Neat. Yeah. And what's the woman? There's always the woman on the front.
I don't think that's Norwegian or Icelandic. I think that's more British. That's what I think that is.
Calgary, Canada. And do you have a lot of French speaking people?
No, we're over here in the West.
Okay.
We still have the accent, obviously. We'll say A and stuff like that. Or
yeah.
You can pick it up.
I recognize it. But
yeah, I when I'm down on vacation or something, I barely even notice you guys are different than us.
Yeah. It's slight.
Over in the East, you definitely hear it.
Yeah. So are you still running that company?
As of about 6 months ago, I put the tools down to pursue platformer full time.
Good for you.
And it's a big challenge because it's quite the shift. I'm used to.
Yeah.
One thing is I'm not used to sitting in front of a computer all day.
Well, it sort of kicks that hustle into high gear.
Oh my God, does it? and I'll tell you, I'm one of the people that I would come on the job site, I would look at a homeowner, I'd shake their hand, they would be happy with my word. But now as sales continue, there's a lot of things that you have to change. The way you adapt to other people, like the other people talking to you, a lot of them will tell you one thing and just do another. And that's an aspect of the industry that I'm not used to.
Are you talking specifically sales?
Yeah, specifically.
Like, oh yeah, we want the platformer in our store. We're definitely gonna have you, and then it's like
game-changing
and then nothing happens.
Yeah. And then it goes dead, and then and then they'll call you back and go, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
You gotta stay. You gotta stay on them. With the you're talking specifically sales versus a homeowner that's like, I need my house drywalled, no brainer, versus a distributor that's like, taking on another product is a pain in my ass,
or dragging it along way too long. It's like talking to the dragons in the dragon's den all the time. You're sitting there pitching your product, they love it, and then you're like, well, let's go. But with that being said, I did run into quite a few people that in this industry that have really exceeded my expectations. And
good.
GMS or GTS, sorry, in the Northwest of the US is one of them. They picked up platformer and they're running with it. They love it.
GTS.
Yeah.
Nice. Before we get too much into sales, though, I want to talk a little bit about this shift and development of the product, because my inventor brain kind of loves that kind of stuff. So you had this idea. You were like, I want to make a platform that goes on the wall that you can mount your scaffold to. Where do you start with something like that? Do you know engineers? I mean, obviously you have to have that engineering, somebody helping you or working with you that has an engineering background, because you're talking load bearing safety, which is a big deal. Where do you start there?
Okay, so number one, obviously, is coming up with the art of the project. This is what I come up with. Next was to partner with someone that has experience doing big business, because this
so you're saying you would work on logo before you would work on like product development?
No, let me explain.
Okay.
The art is basically proof that you came up with that concept first.
Okay.
So I would just on paper, I do have a bit of an art background. I did in high school. So I'd literally just draw the product, what I see in my mind, what I envision, how it works. Okay. And then with that, you take that to a patent lawyer. So that patent lawyer will see the date on it. And that would be your initial art, because someone could see that artwork or hear my idea and try and copy it. And it happens all the time. Someone just, doesn't zip their lips and someone gets it and they run with it.
And then I imagine they did a patent search would be the first step.
Yeah, we got some good patent lawyers out here. They really did a great job. It can be quite pricey to get that patent search done. Yeah. But once you clear that patent search, sky's the limit from there, because then now you apply for it. That takes a long time. I think that took us 5 years.
So you're patent pending for a long time.
Yep.
And so you have a utility patent.
Intellectual patent.
Intellectual patent. Okay.
That means that if anyone tries to copy the idea of platformer or even something that mounts to the wall for a plank, we're covered.
Neat.
Yeah.
How much, if you don't mind, how much all in with intellectual property would you say you
Nick, it's still going.
Okay.
It's still going.
I got really ran through the cleaners on intellectual property. I learned quite a bit, but I lost a lot of money. Just for people out there that are looking to patent something, be cautious.
Absolutely.
You really want a firm you can trust.
Yeah, and just to check the patent and have the reassurance that nothing's there is in Canadian money about $5,000 just to check it.
Okay.
And then from there, it like the bills keep coming in.
Mm-hmm.
We tried going for the patent in. We had to pick where we wanted the patent, right? Obviously, Canada and the U.S.
Yeah.
And patented in Australia as well.
Okay.
But we tried doing UK, and the UK has so many little provinces and territories.
Yeah.
Man, the numbers on that are incredible.
Yeah.
So we actually backed out of that because most of the building structures over there are brick and really wouldn't apply here.
Okay. So you have some security behind your idea. Next step is let's make a prototype. How do you do that?
Well, the next step is actually a big part of this company too, I should mention, are my other family members. My father-in-law, Dave.
Okay.
I went to him with the art, and he's got a huge business background.
Okay.
He's done a lot of business, so I needed someone with that because I'm just the inventor. I need somebody that can do the other side of the business.
Sure.
And I sat down with him, and he had such confidence in me. He said, "You know what, Shane? Let's do it."
Nice.
And he said, "Let's rock and roll." So we brought in my wife and his wife, and we're the four of us are Platformer Solutions.
Okay, so he put up some upfront capital?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so then you have your first tool design, your first design. What did you have to hire a company to build that first prototype?
Yeah, we do know a couple of people that were able to help us, but they were very rough prototypes. We did one out of 3D printer when we finally got a design together. So we did hit a bunch of engineers.
Okay.
We met with just the process alone.
Yeah.
Of every day having a meeting with someone and working nights and everything just to get a prototype together.
Yeah.
It was very daunting.
Yeah.
And then everyone we met with had different ideas and we just started molding things, and it went from this to this to this, and it just grew into this. In my opinion, I don't think there's much we can do to further this product right now.
I like the way it looks, and I like the blue and orange.
So from this point, we get our design together and we go to an engineering company. They build roller coasters out of the U.S.
Okay.
Very prestigious company that we were very impressed with.
Yeah.
A little costly, but we know that this is a product that people are going to be putting their life on the line for.
I'm sure they could give you ratings that you could put on the packaging or tell people this is rated to X amount.
Oh yeah.
You can have, your biggest fella on the team can walk on this and they're not going to fall.
We did rigorous testing. So they do a stress test in 3D, like in a 3D environment.
Okay.
And on the computer. And basically the engineers, they just sit there and they stress it and they stress it and they stress it. And they put a ton of weight on it.
Cool.
They actually call it overbuilt.
Okay.
Because the planks and everything we're standing on will not handle the weight that the platformer can handle. Okay. So we tweaked it.
That telescoping plank all the way out is going to buckle before it comes off the wall.
Right, and not only that, the weight dispersal is a big thing that people don't think about when they say, well, I weigh 300 pounds and I wouldn't put that on there. Well, there's also a dispersal thing that comes with it, right? So it's not, when we tested it, we literally test a pinpoint pushing down at that weight, whereas a big guy will be on 2 feet. So it disperses the weight. Right?
Yeah.
So all these things were tested. And so the engineering firm, they come up, they go back and forth. I'd say 6 months to a year back and forth on this design. And finally, we come up with something we really liked. Okay. From this point, we now have to find somebody that can either anodize, or we looked at other things like just having it maybe welded and then powder coated, or even a plastic mold being built.
What does that mean, anodized?
So what happens is the metal is, obviously a silver. So when it goes in, it does like an electrical current through it. So they'll put like a hook here and a hook here, and they run a current through it while it's in an acid bath.
Crazy.
And it'll dye the color of the metal.
Okay.
And just how precise the engineers were, they had to take into account the tiniest fraction of number in order, because when you anodize, the acid bath actually takes a little bit off of it. So they had to take that number into account while they were doing this. It's really quite amazing what they can do. Yeah.
Okay. I was just going to say, now that you have the tool, like it comes off the assembly line, you get the first one. How many of these do you make?
Oh, geez.
And also two-part question, did you drum up interest prior to getting it made to decipher how many you wanted to make, or was it like, we're going to make 500 and try to sell them?
No, we didn't drum anything up. We were full tilt at this point. But
okay.
What we had to do was we had a minimum that we were allowed to do through the company that we ended up getting the metal from.
Okay.
So
what was the minimum?
I believe it was 2,000 feet of whatever. So the beam of this, it had to be 2,000 feet.
Okay. How wide is the
or 2,000 pounds? Sorry, my apologies.
2,000 pounds. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So how many did that tool?
So as of right now, we were just under 1,000.
Okay. Seems like a good number.
Yeah, but it's mixed match parts. So
okay.
Like, the beam, you order a certain amount of weight, it doesn't weigh nearly as much as this one, right? So we had to order a different amount of this one. So
yeah. So
currently we're in production of more beams because we have more anchors.
Yeah,
right?
That makes sense.
So yeah, it's really quite confusing because they go off of so many different things, and they're used to doing huge amounts. It's the same company that does Tesla. They do huge amounts of metal, and then it's like, what do you want?
You guys are small potatoes. So you had enough for around 1,000. Where do you start when you go to market those and sell them?
Well, number one is safety. The safety officers were definitely huge, but
Are you getting sales through the safety people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
A lot of them endorse it. The hard part is exposure. So that's where I come in, and I'd have to travel around the city and start showing people and introducing the product and saying, hey, can I just show you, give me 5 minutes of your time. I can just show you how this works. And I still to this day haven't had one that would eat it up. If anything, they helped us with the product because they'd say things like, like the U-bolt that comes on it, they'd say, I'd really like to see that locked in better. And we go, okay, that's a great idea. So in our kit, we provide a U-bolt now. Or, just the little things like movement.
Yeah, I feel like the U-bolt wasn't a part of the original when I first saw you start to market. Now right. It is. I really like the locking mechanism too. It also prevents that telescoping scaffold you paid whatever for from walking off. That's kind of cool.
Well, and that's through tests. I did find some people to test. So I had about 10 different taping companies test this for me.
Okay.
And one guy in particular, an old boss of mine, Ted, he said to me, if I'm paying $300 for a tool, I don't want to leave it on site. And I went,
right.
So our original did not have that hole, our original prototype. So we ended up coming up with the locking one of the screw holes. So it's no longer the low-hanging fruit. You got to really work for it.
Right. Yeah, it would do really well. I worked in Crested Butte, Colorado, doing high-end ski-in, ski-out homes. Big homes with those weird stairwells. I mean, my boss over there, he would have, used this on every job. Like, every job had a section that was just a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
for sure.
So
you gave 10 away. What was your feedback on the 10 units that you sort of gave away?
Well, it was interesting. It was all good, don't get me wrong, but
Sure.
it was interesting how they applied and used it, because at that point we really had no instructions. It was you anchor it to the wall, let's see what they do with it. One guy had the one anchor in the wall and then the beam sticking straight out, and the plank was on top of that.
Oh, sure.
And I walked on site and I was like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? It's holding my weight. I said, that's not what you don't do it like that.
Right. It probably was because of the engineering, but man, you're putting a lot of load on the outside of that. So yeah, obviously it has to be work. So then maybe you included like a little how-to sheet.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Do's and don'ts of the platformer.
Like
nice.
Literally everything you need to know about how to set up a platformer.
Right.
Step-by-step instructions.
Well, I'm really impressed by like the logo, your banner behind you, the professionality of the product itself, and how well it looks. It looks great. A lot of work. I know that a lot of work goes into that.
I got to give that to a friend of ours, family friend, Mark Cromwell. He's a local artist.
Shout out to Mark.
Yeah, he's so talented. Like we sit down with them and we go, we have this vision, and boom, he put it on paper, and we're like, wow.
So is he like a graphics dude?
Yeah, he does a lot of like Starbucks. He'll paint the side of the Starbucks and stuff like that.
Okay.
He does statues. He's an excellent artist.
Did he draw this the dude sitting on the edge of the platform?
Oh, yeah.
There? Okay.
Yeah, all of our marketing, this guy here, everything is all Mark.
I love it. So you give a few away. It's kind of working. Maybe it's not flying off the shelf like you thought, but you're starting to get feedback. You're starting to work your marketing. Right. Where are we at today? I mean, did you start right after that? Did you start targeting distributors like, the drywall shops?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I did do, because I do know a lot of them. So if you're sitting down for lunch and saying, hey, do you mind if we put up a display? Or, hey, there's a drywall here in Calgary. They were our first distributor. They put it up. It's still up there today. And
nice.
They love it.
You had a relationship with a distributor in Calgary, obviously, because you're a drywaller, right? You have a relationship with the manager there, whatever. You're like, hey, can we promote this a little bit?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and not to mention, I was a user of their products as well. So I was a devoted customer, and they're going, Shane's been around forever. Let's help him out. He's a small family-run business.
Yeah.
So we sold a bunch through there, and then.
And so that distributor's still selling. Maybe that was your first distributor.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're still selling the platformer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So the distributors are having success. I mean, it would be cool. This is also a tool where it's like, if I saw it and held it, like you feel the girth of it, and also the professionalism of the product and how it's built and packaged. It's kind of one of those products where it's like, oh, this is pretty cool. When Corey sent me the Tech Dry tool, it's like once I felt it, I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty. Right. This is pretty badass, it's like
built well, and
yeah.
And see, that's what guys like. That's what you get from platformers. We couldn't cut corners, because you're going up there, who knows how high. And a lot of people say that to me about price, and it's like, it's not a cheap product. You do not buy a Mercedes and expect to pay, 10 grand for it. You're going to spend the money because you're getting a quality product that you will never have to buy again.
Well, and also don't discredit the fact that it's family owned and made, and, made in Canada. And it's like, we're not making thousands and thousands of them in China or something. This is like,
exactly.
This is something when you buy a platformer, you're paying for ballet lessons. Exactly. This isn't like a large corporation that's like just pumping these things out at millions of dollars to blow on marketing. I don't think people really think about that when they look at a product and like, oh, $300, $400. It's like, dude, somebody made this, man. Blood, sweat, and tears.
Working nights and going to work during the day and then coming home and working nights, and like if they only knew, and I don't like to push that on people because, obviously I got myself into it.
Yeah,
but if they knew, I think they would, react a little differently than go straight to attack, ask some questions.
Yeah. Well, it's a philosophy. It's a philosophy of like, buy local, support, local people, support people. And to me, it's like, this is a community, a drywall community. Yeah, like, let's support our fellow drywall guy. I like the fact that you're a drywall guy. I'm not talking to a framer who came up with this idea. And the reason it's a drywall guy is because we got to be up there. A painter didn't come up with this. Painters can use, you can spray up there. You can use an extension pole. Drywall guy has to be on the wall. They have to be safe. They have to be up there. So it's only natural that a drywall guy came up with this idea,
Yeah, and you know what? That's another thing that reminds me. A lot of people have come up with an idea like this. I hear that quite a bit. Oh, sure. I thought of that years ago. Yeah. My response is, I guess I'm just the idiot that did something about it.
Yeah. And also like, dude, you should be a millionaire. And it's like, well,
that would be nice, but
yeah, that'd be lovely. That would be lovely. But I'm in the same boat. It's like, the resistance and like, it works. It's a great idea. Of course, everyone's grandma thought of it 10 years ago, but like nobody did it.
Yeah.
So the platformer today, you're in. How many distributors are you in?
So we're in, I'm starting to lose count because we branch off to distributors and then it goes to retailers.
Okay.
And, so as of today, I think we're in 60 plus.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. We partnered with, I don't know if you've heard of Circle Brand.
Yes.
Here in Canada.
Remind me about Circle Brand.
Circle Brand. They do a lot of knives, a lot of tools, super tapers. They've got a big variety of tools, and they're big up here in Canada.
Is that Kayla? Is Kayla a big Circle Brand girl?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. And we partnered with them on some sales. So they're kind of taking over to the eastern part of Canada, and then now we're slowly moving down into the U.S. And like I mentioned earlier, we're in the northwest of the United States. We just started actually in 24 locations down there.
And how did you acquire that distribution relationship?
Cold calling, my friend.
Love it.
I sit here and I'll just like I said, I'm really proactive. I'll get on the phone and I'll just call drywall companies and introduce
you myself. Guys are so inspiring. I'm so lazy about that shit. Out there and pushing it. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That's so smart. And it's like, you just have to do it.
I called a store down in Washington, I think. And what I asked for was, do you have any big contacts, drywall companies in the area? And like you said, it's intimidating and you just got to do it. And
you don't want to bother anyone.
And that's the thing I hate. I don't want to be a pest. I'm like, I'm a taper myself. I deal with guys like you all the time.
Yeah.
I can talk the talk with them, but they get so annoyed. Half of them hang up on you. Half of them are like, yeah, I'll take you, send me something. And then they ignore you.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got one bite at GTS and the guy says, whoa. You're not going to sell to those guys. We're going to sell to those guys. I'll give you a number of this guy. And it was Marty Smith out of GTS. And we sat down, had a conversation, man. The guy was so cool about it. He's just so supportive. He had my back right away. He believed in the product and he followed through with it, which is hard to find.
Yeah.
Actually follow through.
Shout out to Marty Smith.
Marty Smith for sure.
And he's out of Washington State?
I think he's Wilsonville, somewhere in there.
That's my old stomping ground.
Yeah. So
Wilsonville is I think that's Oregon, across the river. But I'm from Washington State originally.
Yeah, so he's just been supportive, nothing but great. And if I'm gonna give another shout out, do you guys use Hamilton products at all?
Do they have Hamilton down here? I think they do. I'm familiar with Hamilton.
Because I used the product myself when I was taping.
Okay.
And there is nothing better. And anyone that uses it says the same thing. I sound like an infomercial. I'm not trying to, but
you're talking mud, right?
Yeah. One of my distributors, like one of the salesmen, we became friends. And it turns out he's married to my dad's cousin. Okay. So now I call him Uncle Rick. Okay.
Crazy.
So Uncle Rick was along for the ride. He introduced me to a lot of people in the industry.
Rick's with Hamilton.
Yeah.
Drywall products.
Canada. Yeah. Up in Canada.
What's his last name?
Rick Wood.
Okay.
It's Jason Barnes.
Jason Barnes.
Yeah.
And is he affiliated with Marty Smith?
He's with Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
So he takes care of all of the Western US. So I got a hold of him and set him a platformer, and he's been helping out big time. He's just basically taking it around to all these shows that he does.
Because they know everybody.
Exactly. And he's popping it in front of L&W and GMS and all these guys, and they're going, okay, tell them to give me a call. And I can't show enough gratitude to these guys because they don't have to do this for me. They're just doing it because we're a big community.
Yeah.
We all help each other out.
Well, some of those dudes will do that. Not all of them, but yeah. Joe with Trimtex has been real supportive. Scott with Level 5 has been supportive to me. Yeah. I need to find a couple of these dudes though, for sure. But you have to do the footwork to find these guys. Like you have to do that. You have to find them.
The cold calls, man. I really
that sucks. And then I'm too cheap to hire a sales guy, Well,
so. I had one old lady. I called a number that I had someone had given me, and I called, and she goes, "Hello," and I go, "Hi, I'm Shane from Platformer Solutions. I got your number from blah blah blah. Just wondering if I can talk to blah 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 about a new product." She goes, "Well, he just died last week."
Oh no.
So now I'm on the phone with this lady going I'm so sorry. And trying to make her feel better. And stuff like that happens all the time. Like you're just cold calling someone,
Yeah. That's sales. That's sales, man. Yeah. I'm good at marketing. This is marketing. I love marketing.
Yeah.
Sales is different though, it's a different animal,
and it's expensive to go out and actually show people. I really appreciate this podcast for that reason. I'm actually going to be able to show people on a different platform where I can't travel from state to state. It's just not cost effective,
but it's such a cool avenue for you to share, be like, oh, check out this podcast I did with the Drywall Podcast. I talk all about the product, and you can, I answer a lot of questions, and you can get to sort of know me that way. Or I'll share this on Drywall Hand Finishers and be like, hey, that platformer you guys have been putting down, here's an interview with the guy that does it. He's a family man. He's a drywall finisher, 3rd generation. You should check it out.
Yeah, and that's what I appreciate, is being able to at least be more human. Because before, people we all know the trolls. You've dealt with them. I deal with them. They're just there for negativity. But what they don't see is the hundreds of likes and comments and direct messages that say, send me one now. I've wanted this product forever. I got guys from Belgium that are ordering, in Australia, and
how do you handle those sales, or are those sales going through distribution? So now you're with distributors that can disperse to out of the country.
We run an online business as well. So they just order through our website,
platformersolutions.com. You guys ship globally?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool. And we have too. It's kind of interesting. You got to Google Translate a lot of what people are saying to you, and it's pretty
interesting. Cool. So do you have, it's you have your wife.
Yeah.
What does your wife do?
She works for the town of Okotoks, actually, that we live in.
Okay. And sorry, what province is that? I'm sorry for my ignorance.
Alberta.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I completely understand. You see, when we were in school, we were taught all the things. You guys did. You should see some of the videos of people trying to describe Canada. You're doing way better than those guys.
People think that New Mexico is Mexico in the United States.
Yep.
Like, it's like, no, we're a part of the United States. just called New Mexico.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and then living in Washington, I knew, Vancouver, BC, I knew British Columbia and, up that way. But I'm learning the provinces as I do more of these and get to know some of the Canadian dudes.
Do you know the Calgary Stampede? Have you heard of that?
I don't think so.
No, it's the biggest outdoor show on earth. I'm surprised you haven't heard of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's vague. Maybe I've heard of it.
Big cowboy show, man.
It's a cowboy show?
Yeah.
What do they do at the Stampede?
Lots of rodeo and rides, and it's a big event. It's huge.
Okay, it's a big rodeo event.
I think it is the largest outdoor show on earth.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
The Calgary Stampede.
Yeah, put it on your bucket list, man. Come on up here. I'll take care of you.
Well, I'm still trying to get into I get all these inquiries from Canada. A couple of challenges that I've had that you seem to have thwarted is shipping out of country, which maybe I'm just being lazy, but I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to deal with that.
It is so daunting. It's probably one of the hardest things.
We're just in the United. So I want to find a distributor in Canada, like to just like, okay, this distributor will take Fresco Harmony and then they can disperse, up in Canada. That seems much more efficient than me trying to ship and customs and all of that. I'm just going to concentrate on the United States. That's a big enough pain in the ass. And then I'll find a distributor in Canada eventually,
Right. Well, I'm going to try and help you out with that because obviously I met enough of them up here. But your challenge is finding that truck that's got.
My challenge is finding Marty Smith.
Yeah. So he's a great guy, man.
And more importantly, Rick Wood. If he's working with Hamilton, it's like that's a no-brainer, dude. This is a color system for mud.
Yeah.
You guys could be
really, really friendly. Like I flew out to Vancouver in BC to promote the product, and he picked me up from the airport, drove me around from place to place. He didn't have to do that. He's got a job to do. He was just doing it to help out.
That was Rick. That was Rick Wood.
Yeah.
So he's out of Vancouver, BC.
Yeah.
Beautiful city, by the way.
I'm heading out there in like 25 days for a wedding. My sister's getting married, so I'm heading up there.
Nice. Shoot, man. So what do you see in the future for the platformer?
Well, I want to spread out in the US a lot more, obviously. There's just such a huge market. Just the Northwest alone is proving to be pretty good for us.
Yeah, and a little more progressive, those Northwesterners.
Yeah, and the hardest thing my key thing is exposure. I just need people to know about it because once they get one in their hand and know about it and feel it, it changes how they think about a stairwell. Even the guys on, like I say to some guys when they comment asshole stuff, I'll just say, one day you're going to be looking in a stairwell and you're going to go, shit, I should have bought a platformer. Why am I so stubborn?
Yeah, or they'll just be using the platformer that somebody else owns. They'll be like, how do you and they'll be like, how do you like this thing? And to me, this is a big deal about products. To me, the product needs to stand alone. Like part of me is lazy about sales because I want to see when people use Fresco Harmony, like I want them to like it. I want the product to make that drywaller money. I want it to stand on its own merit. A little bit. You still have to do sales and marketing, but if that the product will sell, the market. And I listen to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk. He will say that the market will drive the product.
Right.
There's so much marketing and sales that we do, but the market will drive it. And what I'm talking about specifically is one dude out in the field that's using the platformer and another guy or a safety inspector seeing it and being like, what is that? I want to know what that is.
That's exactly what the groups do for me.
Huge.
Because I can't physically be in the US. Right. Those groups, like for me to put up a video of what I used last week is huge exposure for me. It's so much easier to do that than go door to door to door, because exactly what you're saying. One guy will see it, he'll buy it, and then another guy will see it on site and he'll call and say, where did you get that? And it hopefully snowballs, because quite honestly, I haven't had a bad review about the platformer yet. I've had some feedback that, doesn't make sense half the time, and we're always
and just to our listening audience, you're not allowed to give a review unless you've actually used the product, correct?
Right. Exactly. Thank you for saying that. and just to be clear, wood is not safer than metal. I just had a comment the other day, and this guy says, I'll stick to my wood because it's safer. And I just went, what? Like, did you not see the progression from stilts that were made of wood to aluminum, or a ladder that was made of wood to aluminum?
And you can't give that any energy too. You got to be like, dude, I respect your opinion, and then I'm going to move over here. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but really direct energy towards people that are excited about my product and want to use it. I'm not going to concentrate on selling to somebody that doesn't want to use it.
It's funny because a lot of the guys that I don't mind the comments as long as they're not too hateful. I'll ignore those ones or just say move along. But some of these guys, they just need the right answers to what they're saying, even though it's negative, like, oh, screw that, I'll use a piece of wood. You just have to educate them on what's better for them. And then they start thinking about it. And then it's funny, I'll get these messages that are private after they've cut down the product.
Yeah.
Your private message saying, hey man, I'm really sorry about that, but your product's great. Can I order?
Right.
So you turn them around.
You know, now do you do that? I know you've had giveaways. Do you do, how much product do you give away?
Because we're a small family run company, that's not very cost effective for us.
Right. You have to charge.
But the biggest thing I do is because you probably know as well as I do, a lot of these guys are just looking for freebies. And I get it. I understand you're interested. Maybe you get a freebie because you got a lot of listeners or a lot of viewers on your social media, but we just can't, we're just not there yet. When we get bigger, we're definitely going to push more product. I flew out and met a couple of influencers out in Toronto, and I gave a couple away. Kyla's got one or two actually.
Has she done a review?
Yeah. She loves it. So she's done a video for us. She's been nothing but supportive, and she's one of the people that definitely have helped with influencing and just being a good community. She's always supportive. Her and there's a couple other guys that are just nothing but good,
Yeah, who do you got?
From Game Changer. Richard's always nice and
Ice Feller, Ice Rock.
Always been good. Yeah. And there's a dozen others that I'd love to mention, but they're not on the top of my head right now.
Sure, that's okay. Very cool. Last, what would you say to the drywall community if you could tell anything to your brothers and sisters out there doing drywall for a living, in the trenches, battling? What would you want to say to them?
Because platformers' number one goal is safety, I'm gonna say the culture. Don't let the culture put your life in danger. If you feel unsafe up there, if you don't like what you're doing, whether it's in a high area or just stilts or whatever you don't feel like, if you get that feeling, don't do it. I get too many messages from people they're never going to work again because they took a chance. So just work safe, get home to your family. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and let me dovetail onto that too. We are responsible for our own bodies. Right. Me telling the doctor after I broke my leg that it was my boss's fault is not an excuse. You are responsible for your own safety in this world, and and in construction. Absolutely. We have. It reminds me of the crosswalks. There's a crosswalk here that has the sign "Look" with two eyes. People are, like a car is naturally, just because there's a crosswalk there and you go to walk across the crosswalk doesn't mean the cars are automatically going to stop.
Right.
We are accountable for our safety, and be aware at all times. Like, sorry.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Sorry. I'm just tired of like people like, and in bikes too, bikes, pedestrians. It's like, look out for cars.
Yeah. And don't go putting yourself in a situation that just, when you look back, go, oh, I'm an idiot. There's no need to take chances anymore. And that's essentially what Platformer is. It's just one tool that will make it a little bit safer for the job site.
Okay, the Platformer. Where can I find the Platformer real quick?
Well, GTS stores down in the Northwest US, all across Canada. Pretty much, you ask any of the stores in Canada.
Cool.
They'll be able to hook you up, and online, platformersolutions.com.
Okay, and then we can find Platformer Solutions on. I just liked your Facebook page.
Right.
You're on Instagram.
Yeah. Platformer Solutions at Instagram.
At Instagram. I think I liked you on Instagram. I'll check. But like there's also TikTok. Do you do TikTok videos?
Yes, sir. Yes,
cool.
Sir.
And do you do all that social media stuff?
Yeah.
And you're on LinkedIn? Are you on LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
All right, all the majors. Twitter, do you do Twitter?
Yeah, I do some Twitter too.
I don't do Twitter.
Man, it's the hardest one out of all of them. I don't think it's good for what we're doing.
Probably not. I don't know. I never got into it. I was like,
social media changes so fast, man. It's just
yeah. That's good though. All those different any other platforms that our listeners should be aware of?
Not really, no. But one thing I want everyone to know is, if they have any questions or anything, I'm very active, and I'm checking everything. And I'm trying to be customer friendly and be there. So if they have any questions, they can DM me anytime.
Okay.
Talk to me on any one of those platformers, and I'm open.
And then your phone number, I think it's on your website. If you want to give a phone number and email, that's totally fine.
Yeah. Email me at shane@platformersolutions.com or 403-710-1889.
Cool. Shane Larson, thank you so much for being on the Drywall Podcast today.
Thank you.
Yeah, great conversation, dude. I'll probably pick your brain a little bit about some of the distribution stuff that you've done, but just a pleasure. I just enjoy talking to you guys, and it's so cool to see a drywall dude branching out and doing something neat and unique, and creating a new tool and safety for our community. It's very cool.
Appreciate it.
All right, sir. You have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, you too.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Special thanks to Shane Larson for being on the Drywall Podcast today. We appreciate your time. If you'd like to get a hold of Shane, you can find him at shane@platformersolutions.com. With us, as always, to help with our sponsor, the Dark Lord himself, the Devil.
Thank you, Nick. Today's podcast was brought to you by Fresco Harmony. Fresco Harmony, making walls better since 2004. Back to you, Nick.
Thank you, Devil. That was perfect. Thank you for joining the Drywall Podcast today. We certainly do appreciate it. And we hope you have a fantastic day. And remember, keep drywalling.